SAFM.
This is Sunrise, and I am standing in for Stephen Grotes. And in this half hour, well, let me tell you, you better get close to your telephone lines because I'm opening the lines. I have my guest here is now former Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba, who we know has just introduced something really interesting to us all. And he joins us this morning, I suppose, to shoot the breeze. Now, my question was, a very good morning to you, Mr. Mashaba. You know, we were expecting you to be at the beach. You promised us to be at the beach. You promised us to be lying there with the beautiful whales and sharks and so on and a book. You're here.
Yes, thank you very much.
That was quick. That was quick.
I spent excellent 2 weeks, and I think during that 2 weeks, from time to time, I'd visit my mail and do put so much pressure. Says, please, as soon as you land, we want you in the studio. So I just got back on Sunday, and I'm glad to be back home after 2 weeks. I feel recharged. Obviously, I really wanted.
You look
I wanted 2 months, but unfortunately, the country's in trouble. So.
And I must say, for those who, obviously this is radio, you can't see, you look like a new baby. You look,
my goodness,
you know, 2 weeks.
Am I not looking like an old man?
No, not at all.
But I tell you, the 2 weeks has been really quite special. I had an opportunity to swim and eat a lot and so forth and read. But I'm glad to be back home.
I mean, you didn't take much time. You then introduced to us an idea. You planted a seed in us, and you're calling it the People's Dialogue. Well, in your words, what is the People's Dialogue?
The People's Dialogue, Phemelo, was informed after my sudden resignation, after really learning of the plot by the DA and the ANC to oust me as the mayor. That's when, obviously, I called a press conference to announce my resignation. And you know, you can imagine, I mean, we're in the midst of a crisis as a country, and we have politicians actually driving their own political agendas instead of actually thinking about the residents and civil society. That's when, while I was saving my notice, I felt, you know what am I going to do? The country is getting in deeper and deeper into trouble. The politicians are dominating the space. I looked at what happened prior to 1994 with the CODESA. That CODESA, which we thought was a great initiative for us, I think, because it saved the country from imploding. But one thing, 25 years later, the country has spectacularly failed. But the politicians are the biggest beneficiaries of this crisis, because they are always thinking about themselves than society. And I thought to myself, let me actually start a campaign, start a program, a platform to allow South Africans to start a second CODESA. But this CODESA must be driven by ordinary South Africans like you and I. It must not be driven by politicians.
What is it looking to be?
Well, it is we're encouraging South Africans there's an online platform where people are giving us input in terms of what type of South Africa they'd like to really see, what type of solutions, the challenges. We all know the challenges. I don't have to tell you unemployment in this country. We know our sisters, our mothers and our sisters, our youth in particular, black youth in particular, not really working. The economy, as I was on holiday, I get reports of the economy going backwards. So all these problems we are aware about. This open borders where South Africa is becoming a borderless country, drugs destroying our communities, our schooling system performing the worst in the West in the world. So I think, and I said to myself, I don't have solutions to all these problems. Let me just really use my privileged position, start a platform, get South Africans to engage on these matters, and to give them until end of February. By sometime in March, I'll put together a full professional scientific report. Then I can share it with society. Then we can really decide the future for our country, us as ordinary citizens of the country.
Are you hoping for it to be a party?
Well, I think that determination will come out of what people are giving the input. And Phemelo, I was so excited. Yesterday, I arrived on Sunday afternoon, and yesterday I had a meeting with the team to present to me the preliminary findings. It is unbelievable. It's It's honestly exceeded to my wildest expectations, the input that we're getting from ordinary South African about the type of South Africa that they would like to live in. And I'm really so excited to really share this information so that we can see what ordinary Mrs. Kumalo or Mr. Van Nierkerk or Mr. Whoever, anyway in South Africa, that we all as South Africans are good human beings. We're all good South Africans. We want the best for our country, for the future generations. But we unfortunately failed by the current political environment.
Your script looks like so many other scripts we've seen. You know, someone with good intentions who wants to do something, as you've said, and it never ends well. We've seen it before. What is it that you think they did differently or wrong and that you will do differently?
Well, I think I don't think I'd need to really waste my energies on really looking at and discussing what other people did wrong. I think I want to really focus what our platform can do. And our platform is an opportunity for ordinary South Africans to give their contribution. Because we can't give up on this country because someone has failed. You know, my life, I'm just over 60, just turned 60 a few months ago. You know, life is around always trying. If you want to change the world, you cannot really concern yourself about failure. Yes, failure is there. You've got to mitigate. You've got to find ways to manage it. But at the end of the day, we've got to keep on changing the world. You know, Edison, the guy who developed this globe, you know how many attempts to eventually get this globe to today we're enjoying the brightness of darkness. It is because of entrepreneurs, it's because of ordinary human beings always keep trying. You mustn't really concern yourself with people who are trying to really pull you down, because there are people in the world that will try all the time tell you about your failure, that you're not going to succeed. And I was born and grew up in that environment by the apartheid government that said to me, you are a failure at birth. And I decided, no one should really determine my destiny. I'm the one must be in charge, and I run my life on those bases. So I'm really quite excited, and you will see it, once I start really sharing the outcome of what people are giving input on. You South Africans are going to really be excited. I can tell you I'm excited already, and fortunately enough, not from an ideological perspective, from practical inputs that South Africans are giving us on this platform.
You came into politics and you keep talking about, you know, the big surprise that you arrived into. You didn't know what was ahead of you. Shocked you. You staying. You said it aged you, which it did. You said it gave you stress and so on. But the bug is bitten, hasn't it? What have you learned about politics?
You know, one thing that I've learned about South African politics in particular is that they are a total failure. Politicians are just there for themselves and their political parties. And honestly, no consideration whatsoever about the welfare and the success of the country. I mean, you can imagine right now how this economy is underperforming. I mean, it's a disgrace that we can have a country with unemployment that's going up. We've got almost 18 million of our people who are dependent on putting bread on the table, have to really get grants from the state. We are allowing our youth to be destroyed by drugs and crime syndicates. We allow this to really happen, and as if we don't have a government. We operate in South Africa as if there's no government, whereas we should really be using the constitutional framework that developed and adopted in 1996 to ensure that there's a rule of law, there's progress. We educate our kids. We make sure that they become the best in the world. But all these things are just really. We celebrate failure. Something honestly that really confuses me.
And speaking of failure, what failures, your own failures, in term have you reflected on since you've been away?
I think it's really more disappointments, because when I actually eventually in 2015, when I was approached to be the mayoral candidate of the city of Joburg, and as you rightfully said, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But one thing for sure is that I was a concerned South African, and I said, I'm not going to, I was tired of discussing these matters at dinner tables, at parties, or in a golf course, and we always mourn and not do anything about it. When the constitutional framework says to all of us as civil society, let's do something about it. I think, Phemelo, just look at the number of our people who are not voting. I think look at the outcome of the recent national elections. We've got more of South Africans who did not vote because they're despondent. But then people don't realize by not going out there to vote, ultimately we will end up this country being taken over by criminal syndicate. So we've got to stop this, and the only way we can stop this, let's work within the constitutional framework. Let's use our democratic opportunities and structures available to us instead of really mourning, because you can mourn until you turn blue, until you stand up to say, look, you know what, I want to change my life, but I'm going to change it by making sure that I stand up to do something about it.
You haven't answered my question. I'm going to give you time to think about it. I'm asking you what failures you reflected on in your term. So I'm going to give you a chance to think about that. I'm also going to open the lines, 0891 104 207, 20 minutes after 8. Of the city of Johannesburg, Mayor Herman Mashaba joins me now just really to touch base, and obviously on the back of the announcement of a platform that he's put together where he's asking you to engage and discuss with him what it is that you see for yourself in this country. What would you like to see happen? So that's really a platform that he wants to engage us with, and he wants us to give input on. Your answer? Your reflection?
My reflection, Phemelo, to be honest with you, is that I would have really wished to have completed my term, because it was very important to just really have to really live almost 18 months into elections. But unfortunately, the current political environment did not really allow that to happen. You're going to watch in your own party working with the ANC to oust you. What do I do? Because at the end of the day, I serve at the behest of political parties. That is why I'm saying is this system can't really be correct. I think I was there determined and committed to serve my nation and my city. But if politicians are not happy with what you are doing, and they decide, the two big political parties decide, no, we're not happy with this person, they disregard public sentiments and says, no, we're going to oust this man. And fortunately enough, this matter came to my attention before time, and decided, okay, if that's what you want, I'm not the one to really fight for this position, because for me, being the mayor was the last position in the world I really wanted. I just really wanted to serve my country. But if two big political parties in the country don't want me, then let me make it easy for you. Let me then step aside.
And it turned out to be true, because obviously now they've all gone on to vote for ANC.
Well, fortunately enough, it is there. Remember when I warned to people, there were some commentators who didn't believe me, and well, now we've got the evidence.
All right, 0891 104 207. Felix, you calling us from Nelspruit. Good morning to you, Felix.
Mr. Mashaba is just comparing with me. When he started off, he started off with nothing. Through sheer hard work and dedication, he managed to take all odds to become what he has become today. And it is true for every human being that is alive. There is no one that has lived, that is living, or that will ever live, is greater or lesser than you. Has nothing to do with the color of the skin. And that is what I want every individual to take away from Reconciliation Day. That they made it to believe that because you are white, you are less, you are inferior, or because you are black, you are inferior. That is not true. That's what all politicians want to do. They want to put you down. All
right, Felix, we've just lost Felix from Nelspruit. I think we got the point of what we were saying. Magdalene, you're calling us from Bloom. Good morning to you, Magdalene.
Morning, ma'am, and morning to Ms. Mashaba.
Yes, sir.
I think there's been a long time that we've been waiting for this type of a ruling. That it's always been I don't know, like say, a waiting area that the manifestos are good, but the implementation and application is on the other route. It's not the same route as the manifesto. The point is, the minute we apply that thing of saying the government by the people for the people, then I think it will be the right move in South Africa. So we've been long waiting for this thing that we South Africans, we should take a drive and a direction for our own country and realize where did we go wrong. The manifestos are good, but the application is the problem. So let's take it, Mr. Mashaba. I was so happy when Musi was introducing it 2 weeks ago. It was on Sunday. I was in the car when I listened to him. Then I said, no, Musi, we've been waiting for this thing. We've been waiting for somebody who will say, South Africa, let's wake up and kick off. So let's take it, please. It's enough. It's enough. 27 years of Mandela in the prison. We felt it now in South Africa in a democratic status. So we are taking it. No excuse.
Thanks very much, Magdalene in Bloemfontein. I'll give you space to respond in a short while. Let's go to George in Durban. George, good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Good morning to Herman Mashaba.
Good morning.
Yes, Herman Mashaba is a proven, tried and tested leader. And this he has proven even during apartheid, where you had this black like me thing. And he was an exceptional business person during odd times. And the only thing that I have a doubt that he can be the one who can save South Africa. You know why? Because he has that obvious self-hate, which manifests itself in hatred of other Africans. That is so obvious, and unashamedly, he can show it at any time. You know, like the other time, he caught a guy who was selling the scopes and all that, and he wanted to show the world that what he was doing is wrong. And instead of, as a mayor, to look at it and say, this is the problem of job creation, this is a black man's problem, we are all victims in this. You know, I don't have a doubt that he's got great leadership skills. But his problem is, I am afraid he might sell out. You know, because even now, I'm afraid, there's, you see in South Africa, we have places like Orania, we have places like Northwest, where there are places where a black man is still not allowed. He never made a lot of noise about those things. But the noise that he makes every time is that of immigrants. You know,
George, we're running out of time. Let me give him time to respond, because I think we should allow him space to do that before we go to the headlines. Mr. Mashaba?
I think, George, thank you very much for your input. I think, George, if you want our country and our continent to really be a shining example of what success can be, we have to really follow the rule of law. If we allow chaos, there's just no way. You can study economics, you can study history, you can study politics. There is no country in the world that has ever made it in an environment of chaos. If you want to really build successful nations and successful economies, you need the rule of law, and that is something that is missing. And unfortunately, what you are asking me for to do is to really allow and expect that you can build an economy in an environment of chaos. That cannot, unfortunately, really happen. And I think, please use the platform to really give us your input. I think you've got some facts that we can really learn from you. We appreciate really getting people really critiquing, because we are not perfect. The reason why I've really started this program, because honestly, I don't have all the answers. I don't. I'm just really an ordinary South African, one individual in midst in the sea of 58, 57 million South Africans. So please give your inputs. And I think I'd really like what Felix said earlier on about this whole issue of the people coming out with the stereotype saying to you as an individual that you're not good enough. I think this is something that for me, it hurts me. And I think it's something that I know every human being at conception, when at birth, you are a star. And that is something that we need to encourage from that time, when you pop up into this world, that you've got to really be nature to really believe in yourself, because it is really so important. Because once you can bring a nation that believes in itself as individuals, not as groups, yes, you must first believe in yourself and work with other people. But don't really fall into this group mentality, because group mentality, everyone as human beings, we all have our own agendas. And that's what you need to do. Once you believe in yourself, that you can then be in a position to engage other people, but also make sure that I think you can guard against those with bad intentions, because not everyone always means well. So, and that's something that we've got to be always vigilant about.
I'm in conversation with the former mayor of the city of Johannesburg, and this conversation will go on.
SAFM leading the conversation.